We are about to enter the Emperor's private paradise. Come and take a look.
Nancy, how did you get this exhibit over here?
Well, I've been working with the Palace Museum in Beijing, which is the Forbidden City, and which is a place where the emperors have been living for 500 years until the revolution. And I suggested to them that we do this exhibition. They thought it was a great idea.
So what's this picture here?
This is a portrait of the Qianlong Emperor. And the Qianlong Emperor reigned from 1736 to 1796. He reigned for 60 years. And this is an image of him in his older years. You can see that he looks not young anymore. And he's wearing his official imperial robes, bright yellow, covered with dragons.
And did he rule the Forbidden City at that time?
He not only ruled the Forbidden City, he ruled all of China at that time period for 60 years. Over here is actually one of the Qianlong Emperor's thrones. He sat in that throne, and it was a throne that was in a building, a 4-story high building, and the top floor of the building. It was one of the highest buildings in the whole Forbidden City. And it was from there that he could look over the whole Forbidden City. These are ceramics, and they were all made during the Qianlong Emperor's reign period. He was a very serious collector and patron of the arts, and so he had many, many artworks done for him to his specific requests. The Qianlong Emperor not only commissioned many paintings and many pieces of porcelain, he also commissioned a lot of buildings and gardens. And what he would do is he would say to his ministers and his servants, I want a garden that looks like this and that. He would describe it all. Then they would go and they would make a model, a 3-dimensional model for him to look at and approve. And so that is one of the models for a garden he designed.
What kind of pen did they use for this?
They actually didn't use a pen, they used a brush. It was probably a brush made out of some kind of animal hair. And they used gold and lacquers. And it was 3 different kinds of gold. If you look carefully, there's a pink gold, a yellow gold, and a white gold in there.
How do they preserve it?
Well, there's an interesting story behind this object. In fact, all the objects in this exhibition. All of these objects were in the Qianlong Garden, in these 27 buildings, and they never came out of the space in all the years that they were in there. And the spaces have never been restored or brought to life again. And so they've just been sitting there locked up for years and years and years, getting dirtier and dustier, and some pieces are falling apart. But they decided a few years ago to restore all these spaces. And that was a collaboration between the Forbidden City and an American group called World Monuments Fund. When they took all the pieces out, they discovered this. They had no idea that this was here, because what had been showing on the outside was the other side. Remember, we saw the images of the Buddhist people. This side was against the wall. And when they took this out, they suddenly noticed that the backside was covered with these beautiful gold paintings, and they were in perfect shape because they had never been exposed to air and never been exposed to light. So in fact, these objects didn't need any conservation or cleaning up.
And continuing is, what kind of clock is this?
This is actually a European clock. This is not a Chinese clock, but the Qianlong Emperor was fascinated by European clocks and also some of European aesthetics and European culture. The Europeans knew that he loved these clocks, and so they would give him presents of clocks. This is one of the presents that they gave him. It's probably from France or Germany, and it's a stunning work, and when it's working and the dial is going around, when it hits an hour, do you see that little man in there?
Yeah.
He bangs the bell, and these flowers go twirling around. They never had mechanical clocks like this in China before this time, so he was very excited about these. And he even had the Europeans create a clock workshop within the Forbidden City.
Why did the Europeans in the emperor clocks?
The Europeans were fascinated with China, and they were very interested in doing trade with China. So they were trying to charm the emperor into allowing them to have trade. It didn't really go very far because the emperor was not really interested in trading or having diplomatic relations with the Europeans. The emperor was an incredibly learned man. He was very highly trained in the Chinese Confucian classic literature, in the history of Chinese law. He was also a poet. He wrote 42,000 poems in his lifetime. That's a lot of poems. He loved art, he collected art, but he also thought of himself as a military man, and he tried and worked very hard to expand the size of China by sending out military campaigns. And he expanded the borders of China to almost twice of what they originally were. Chinese art is so rich, and there are thousands of years of art. Things are changing over all these centuries, so it's always stimulating and interesting and exciting.
If you like what you just saw, please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and share the link with your friends. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to see what we can do.